Hey everybody, it's Torra from Fire and Ice, and I'm on today talking about rock.
Okay, today we have for you a hard rock and heavy metal band hailing from the gutters of New Jersey and New York, drawing inspiration from iconic bands such as Aerosmith, Van Halen, Rat, and Skid Row. Fire and Ice has developed a unique blend of hard-hitting riffs, soaring vocals, and catchy melodies. Joining us now to discuss the band's latest album, High Roller, let's welcome John Torra. John, how are you, man?
I'm doing good. How are you doing today, Rob?
Doing very, very good, man. So tell us a little bit about putting this project together, man. I really like what you guys are doing here.
Fire and Ice has a very, I wouldn't say long story, but definitely a very interesting story. So Fire and Ice formed back of the fall of 2022. The band originally started out with me and original guitarist Shane Chester. We formed the band together around, I would say, September-ish, going into October. So we formed the band. It was me and Shane. And then we also recruited around that same time our original bassist, Mark Spider. And it was just the three of us for a little while. And we were searching for drummers all over the place. We had some people in Staten Island we were inquiring about that Shane knew. And then we were trying to see if we could find some people on the island. But eventually we landed on our drummer, Mike Gemini, who Shane knew from playing in a band previously. And pretty much from there, we came together. We kind of took a little bit of a hiatus. When we started off in the early days, it was originally covers we were doing just to get in the clubs. And then we kind of took a break from that and just like split up for a little bit. And then we reformed going into the end of 2023. And our first show was in January of 2024.
Excellent. Yeah, like I was saying, you guys got some really cool tracks on this latest album, High Roller. And it looks like Coming Home seems to be a fan favorite. I know it's a standout for me. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Coming Home was it was an instrumental piece that Shane had proposed to me. He had sent me the track he had recorded, and he had already had pre-programmed some drums just to have like a rhythm section, so we kind of had an idea. So when I first heard it, I'm like, Shane, this is amazing. I'm like, this has got to make the album, because we had so much stuff written that ended up not being on the album, but that track in particular stood out to me so much, and I just was hearing it over and over. I'm like, this is the one. So the inspiration as far as lyrics wise, so really Shane wrote the instrumentals. I came up with all the lyrics for that one. The song was essentially about my travels away from home. Being that I'm from Massapequa, Long Island, and the band's located in New Jersey, a lot of times I was away from home most of the time. Like every weekend I was practically, as my family called me, a gypsy. I was just on the road away from everything, and I was with the band, writing, recording, rehearsing, playing, everything, the whole 9 yards. So I was writing about my feelings being away from all my friends and family, and then also being away from my lady, So it takes a lot when you're away from home most of the time, and whether it be just for rehearsals or at shows, because there were times we were like out of state for like a couple of days, and I was just writing what I was feeling, and it was a lot of long drives. The amount of times I've crossed that George Washington Bridge connecting New Jersey to New York, it just was a lot back and forth, late nights. Sometimes I got home at 10 o'clock. Sometimes I got home at 4 a.m. So it was just a lot. It was a lot going on. So essentially, I just wrote what I was feeling, and it was just all the roads and cities that we've been through and passed through, and towns and everything. And it pretty much summed up what I was feeling, like, doing shows, as well as the process of recording the album. Because the other thing was, when we did this album, we recorded it in Rahway. So I was committing every weekend from like morning till night.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Was it the first time in your studio doing this at Rahway here, recording here?
So yes, so High Roller is the first album that we recorded in a professional studio, and I would say also the first glam metal album produced out of Hellhound and Rawway. And the debut EP we put out before Hypnotize, we did that ourselves as kind of a rough demo that we had, and that one we actually produced, mixed, and mastered at Mark's house in Jersey, except for one track, Lust for Love, which is my personal favorite song that we've written. It was also actually the first song that we written that was actually recorded in my house because Shane and Mark had experience with recording, mixing, and producing. So we like, okay, we didn't have a budget at the time, so like, let's just do it ourselves, put it out there, see if people like it, follow up, then we know we're going to invest in an album. And we put the EP out and people really liked it. And we're like, okay, so let's give them something better quality, better production, better songs, So then we took it to Hellhound.
Yeah, definitely. So how was it working with producer? I think you had Beto Andre on this producing for you. How was that?
Beto was amazing. I love that guy like no tomorrow. All of us in the band, we love Beto. He is one of the best guys to work with as a producer. Very down to earth, very humble, very nice. And, while being a producer, he's also a great friend. There was a lot of times, we had our moments. We were just hanging out, laughing, giggling, having, bro time, as they would say.
Right.
But
they say the hang is just as important, if not more important than anything else, right?
Absolutely. We had a lot of fun times recording because, he was with us for like almost a whole year in that room, just hearing us babble all the time. And at the end of the day, while we were all joking around as friends, he's like, hey, guys, chop, chop. This is your money you're spending. We got work to do.
Exactly.
And there were times like we laid down tracks and to us it sounded fine. And he's like, you're going to redo that again. And then we'd be like, it sounds good. And he's like, nope, redo it.
Right. Right. Sometimes it's good to trust your producer. Yeah. Definitely. I know I've talked to a couple different artists about this lately. You know what I mean? And I know when a lot of bands get in the studio, they're kind of headstrong. They want things a certain way. But it seems, pretty relevant to listen to somebody that's been doing this a little while. Might have a little more insight, right?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah, he definitely knew what we were trying to do, and he was going to do everything he can to make sure we got that vision we were looking for. And like, it was everything to like the little slightest note. If like one little teensy little note was off, it's got to be perfect. And it paid off in the end. There was times where something that we thought would be recorded in a minute took maybe 20 minutes.
Now, did you have the whole band in the studio at the same time doing this pretty much, or was it different times?
We kind of broke it up into different sessions. So the way we did it, basically, when we went to record a new track. So let's say we're starting a new track to record. So we had a little scratch track demo. We have demo guitars, a demo drums, just to have an idea.
Right.
Or let's say, like, for example, Mark sometimes writes a lot of the songs that we do. Mark will come up with like a concept with a guitar track he'll lay down, and he'll do a program drum to give like Mike an idea of like where to like start off. So like just to lay the foundation. Then we kind of practice it, and then at the same time while we're practicing, we kind of write our own things to make it our own thing. And then essentially we go to the studio, we book and do the drums first. So we lay down the drum tracks. So usually at times we would do two songs. So 2 drum tracks, get all that done tight. And if there's time, maybe lay down a bass track. But mostly we broke it up into different sessions. So like, let's say for the next month, we're going to have 2 songs we have to record. So we would take 1 week for the drums and to lay down a bass. The second week is to lay down the guitars, the vocals, and the solos, and rinse and repeat essentially.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So another thing on here I wanted to ask you about, it looks like you guys took the track Escape into the Night, you took it off of the EP version, kind of recorded a cleaner re-recorded version, incorporated a scanner in there also, and you had the band members acting out like reports of a high-speed chase. That was a really cool idea. I really like that.
It was something I came up with because Escape into the Night was actually, it was a accidental song that ended up on the original EP because we had a different song we were going to do, and it had the concept of escape into the night. That was just a cool name. But for some reason, just the lyrics we had written down and just the pretty much the melody, it just wasn't flowing. We're like, oh, this is such a good riff, but like the melody's not working for this. So Shane had another track he had recorded in his demos, and he pulled it out. He's like, well, let's try this. And so we're hearing it, and then I'm like, okay, I got some lyrics left over from other songs. So I took basically different lyrics from different pieces of music I had written, put it all together. And I believe Mark came up with a good melody, and Mike also put his input. And we came up with Escape into the Night, which actually has no meaning. Escape is essentially just a bunch of mixed lyrics that fit, and it's very catchy. But sometimes some of the best songs are like that. So when we went to re-record it, I was like, okay, well, there's no meaning behind the song. It's just,
it's just a fun song.
Yeah, it's just a fun song. So I'm like, let's incorporate a high-speed police chase. So we got the scanners in, and we were originally going to just have like, just the scanners and police sirens. That's it. But then I was just like, why don't we be the cops? Why don't we be the state troopers calling this in?
Right.
So each of us came up with different dialogues. So the first one is me. Then it goes to Mark, who went into real in-depth looking up actual police code, saying, I forgot exactly what he said. 1016, we got 1016, all that.
Right.
He went into depth with that. And then Shane, I love him, but his acting was not exactly the best at the time. So we had a couple of times we had to redo the retake. So I was like, say this. I came up with this one. I'm like, 10-4 in pursuit. Or we said something different, but eventually it became 10-4. We're in pursuit, something, and we recorded that. And then Mike was the last one on the track who says, "Dispatch, we have lost sight of the suspects." And it was just a cool idea. We just came up with it. We're like, you know what, let's do it to make it a little different.
Yeah. I thought it was really cool. It kind of harkens me back to the early Kiss days on Destroyer when they did Detroit Rock City on the Destroyer album, right? And you hear the guy in the car getting in his car, hearing the news report and stuff like that. It kind of gave that song a little bit extra. It gave it a little personality. You know what I mean? So I think that's kind of what that does with this for you. And another track on here, which I thought was really cool, "Don't You Cry," is definitely an arena anthem. Was that consciously thought about to do that with that?
So that was all Mark. So Mark wrote that song entirety, all the instrumentals, the rhythm, the melody, the lyrics. That was all Mark. Mark is heavily influenced by AOR. Like he loves bands like Flip. He loves Winker. He loves Kip Winger. I love Winger too.
Such a great artist. I was able to speak to him a couple years ago. Yeah, definitely.
But Mark essentially wanted to do his own like AOR ballad, and he had this. And prior to even showing us "Don't You Cry," Mark had put out a solo album with his own stuff. Because before I really got to know Mark was a solo artist writing his own stuff. And then when he came in with us in Fire and Ice, he's like, "Here, I got some stuff maybe we can use." So he had "Don't You Cry." And I remember hearing that. I was like, dude, this is great. It reminds me of Journey and Winger fused, And I was like, I can't sing this. You got to sing this, because that was the whole thing. What was great. And Mark even told me, which one thing I've noticed, a lot of bands nowadays don't usually have two singers now, like they used to.
Not very often anymore.
No. So so I was like, okay, well, why don't you sing? It gives me a chance, a break from the mic, catch my breath, and maybe roam around the stage. Because most of the time when I'm singing, I'm glued to the front of the stage because I got my guitar in hand and I'm singing,
Right.
So I can't really like grab the mic and walk around freely. But recently I've been actually doing that, so that's a good thing. But I was like, Mark, you got to sing this, and we recorded it. He sung it, and I'm like, that's it. Like your voice is meant for that. And that's the one thing with me and Mark, which I love, is we write stuff, and there are certain songs like maybe I'll write, and then I go to sing it, and I'm like, no, Mark, that's more your voice. And same thing, vice versa. Mark would be like, no, Torra, this is more of your kind of style, So we trade on and off, and then we have like, Welcome to the Show, which features both of us. That was basically kind of our tribute to Shout It Out Loud, and that one Mike came up with. So that's Mike Gemini's big credit on the album was Welcome to the Show.
Yeah, definitely a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and work definitely went into this album. So, one
Yeah.
question I've been asking a lot of artists lately, because this is going around all the time, is with AI creating music.
Oh,
Just this week, Apple iTunes announced that they would be labeling any music created by AI as such on their service, and I'm sure the other services are going to follow suit. You know what I mean? As an artist, what do you think about this AI creating music?
I I have mixed feelings with it. Some of the stuff it's kind of cool, like they come up with. I've seen clips of like them using AI to make James Hetfield from Metallica sing like La Bamba. So Richie Valens, like it's kind of funny, or something with like Vince Neil doing AC/DC. I mean, it's kind of like funny to hear it, but at the same time, you really think like dang, a computer did that, like it's not cool. And there's a lot of people out there who are really grinding out there, pouring their hearts out, writing all these beautiful pieces, and then you get a computer who can generate something in 2 seconds, and then people will cater to that more so towards an artist who's busting his ass. Can I say that on here?
Of course we can.
Yeah,
This is
yeah,
the internet. We can say whatever we want.
yeah. Busting his fucking ass. It's to me, it's not cool. And it's just, I'll put you this way, and this is what I've been saying. They were right in 1984 when they made a movie about this, and I think you know what movie I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly,
Yep.
exactly. And we're
Skynet.
yeah, and we're feeding that like every different source is like, come and use our AI so you can train the AI stuff, but you can't get human emotion
Oh no.
from an AI generated song. It just doesn't
Oh,
happen. And that's the magic of music, is passing that feeling and that emotion that you create that song to your audience, and your audience reacts and brings it back to you.
right. Yeah. No, it's really gotten bad with AI, and at first I think people took it as like, oh, it's kind of cool. You can alternate stuff and do that, but it's just gotten so out of hand that it's like I said, Skynet's taking over, and
Yeah.
they warned us this unintentionally
Right.
40 years ago,
Yep.
and then they reminded us in 1991.
Yep.
I guess we didn't get the message then.
Yeah. Very, very
um,
true.
only the future tells. Only the future can tell what's going to happen next. But personally, me, I don't agree with it. Like I said, I understand it for like comedy standpoints, but at the end of the day, people are losing jobs, and it's an insult to the people who write their asses off and spend night and day trying to make an honest living by doing this music stuff like we are.
Yep. Yep.
So
Totally agree with you. So you're like you were saying, looking forward, what are next steps for Fire and Ice? You guys got shows lined up, or what's going on next?
ooh, oh, I don't even know if okay. We did announce in July we're returning back to Los Angeles to play the Whiskey A Go Go. We are direct support for the legendary band Steelheart.
Nice.
So we have that going on. We have a show in 2 weeks, April 4th. It's a Saturday, Queens, the Wild Goose. We're playing with our friends Ferret, Snow White, and Electric Circus. So we're doing a show there. So anybody in the Queens area, Ozone Park, wherever, the boroughs, you know where to go on that date. We got some other stuff planned. I will say this. I'll give you this little teaser. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it yet, but I will say Los Angeles, we got 2 more shows for you guys. I'll put it this way, 2 separate months. So you got us in July, but you got us for another 2 different months. So that's all I can say right now. Be sure to check the Fire and Ice page on Instagram, Fire and Ice Band official. Or no, I think it's Fire and Ice Band. What am I talking about? I've been in this band. I started this band with Shane, and I can't even remember the Instagram user because we have so many different usernames. It gets mixed up. But just check on the Fire and Ice page. You'll see what we got in stock, and trust me, you guys are gonna love it. I promise you.
Very, very cool. All right, the new album High Roller is out now from Fire and Ice. You can check that out on all the streaming platforms. Very, very cool. John Torra, so good to speak to you today, my friend.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on here.
Yeah, definitely. And our folks out there, we hope you're doing your part by keeping the torch alive and supporting live music wherever you are.